Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Julia, your online English teacher. Today we're going to be doing the recap of lesson 32 together. Now, normally I start off with pronunciation. Today I would like to start with the grammar point. After that, we will review the vocabulary of today's lesson, just to perfect your pronunciation, boost your confidence, and sometimes even work on spelling. And then finally, I'd like to talk about some traditional British foods. So some traditional dishes, some recipes that you may have already heard of if you have already travelled to the UK. So let's get started. So the grammar point today is irregular past simple. Now, what I would like to highlight to start off is the way people tend to learn irregular verbs. It's not uncommon for me to hear my students repeat the list when they doubt which form to use. So let's say I say, okay, let's do the verb to write in the simple past. And I have students that go to write, wrote, written. Okay, so wrote. And that's how they learn. Lots of my students anyway, notably in Spain, they learn the irregular verbs in these big tables and they just learn the three forms: the infinitive, the simple past or past simple, and the past participle. So first of all, let's clarify that. What appears when I learn a list like that? What appears in what order? So to start off, we have the infinitive, to eat. Then we have the simple past or past simple, ate, and then eaten. Or sometimes you have eat, ate, eaten. And that can be either the bare infinitive, in other words, the infinitive which isn't with to, so it's just bare, it's alone. Or it can be the simple present in the first person singular. For example, I eat. Ate is the simple past, and then eaten, the past participle. So you have a variation on that theme, but do remember how to use these three forms. Don't just learn them off by heart and then have to repeat the list each time you are making a sentence. So that was the first thing I wanted to highlight. So learn that list, but bear in mind what is what. And then the other thing that I sometimes hear in the classroom is a common mistake. You get used to hearing the irregular form in the simple past. Let's say, let's use the verb to catch. So the simple past of catch is caught. So my students, when they then make a sentence or a negative sentence, they tend to say, did he caught instead of did he catch, or he didn't caught instead of he didn't catch. So be careful there. So a piece of advice would be to just learn those tables, learn those lists, but systematically make sentences. So an example of that would be to catch, caught, caught. You would say, I catch the bus every day. I didn't catch the train yesterday. Did he catch the train yesterday? And finally, the past participle. Have you caught the bus? Etc. Okay, so with no context, those sentences don't necessarily make much sense, but it's just to practice hearing the different forms, the negative, the affirmative, and the interrogative form in the present, simple past, and perfect tenses, tenses that require the past participle. Okay, so that was my little grammar review, if you wish. So for you to actually complete that review, I would like you to do the same. Just come up with a sentence in the positive, in the negative, and in the question forms of the following verbs. To leave, so that would be to leave, left, left. So write those down, please, and make a few sentences. Also with to catch, why not? We've seen it together, but practice it because it's very, very common. To catch, caught, caught. To write, wrote, written. Here, don't forget the double T in the past participle, written, two T's. And one more, which one can I give you? To do. Okay, why not? To do, did, done. To do is obviously the auxiliary that we use to make our question forms and our negative forms in the present and the past simple, but it's also a verb. So did you do your homework? Have you done your homework? So practice do, did, and done. Okay, that's all for the grammar review. Now let's move on to the vocabulary contained in today's dialogue. So today's dialogue contains a word which is very commonly mispronounced. It is colleague. Now, I'm going to enunciate, I'm going to exaggerate the vowels, I'm going to speak very slowly and enunciate. I would like you to do the same, and I'd also like you to start using what appears here, the phonetic transcription. If it's still very new, very foreign, don't worry, just use a diluted version, interpret that and simplify it, make it more familiar. As long as you use some way of memorizing, remembering the pronunciation of each word, that's fantastic, that's good enough, okay? If you feel comfortable using the IPA, the official phonetics transcription, brilliant, that's fantastic too. But get used to it, because for example, this word colleague is mispronounced because it's often confused with college, okay? So look at the transcription, colleague, a nice long vowel sound, and college, a short vowel sound, college, short, colleague, college, all right? So talking about phonetics and phonetic transcriptions, here let's get some more practice. Today's class is all about the irregular past simple, so you have the word thought, so think, thought, thought. So here is the phonetic transcription of the simple past and past participle. Thought, you see a nice long vowel sound. And just to play around with transcribing and getting used to remembering how to pronounce vowels notably, here are some other words which are written in a similar way but are pronounced completely differently, have different meanings and different words altogether. Okay, so we have the word tough, we have the word through, and we have the word thorough, also pronounced thorough. Okay, so thorough is British English, and thorough, O, so a double, a diphthong, a diphthong if you want, a gliding vowel, thorough, that's the American way of pronouncing it. You can choose, I mean, even in England we say thorough, because yeah, it sounds good too, so you can choose. It could be thorough or thorough, all right? So that's enough with phonetics, technical phonetics. Let's look at the other words today that may have been slightly more difficult to pronounce. We have the word century. Now, if you look at that word, it's very easy, but I want you to really pronounce century. You see, you've got a ch sound. Century. Comprehensive. Everywhere. And to live. Now, why have I written to live? Why not? Because to live, lived, lived, that's easy. It's not an irregular verb, but I often hear live, life, and live music mispronounced. So let's just repeat those together. To live, life, and live music. So to live and live are written the same way, okay? So depending on the context, when you're reading something aloud, you'll have to figure out what the context is and then work out the right pronunciation. It's not difficult, but it's just something that I want to highlight so that everyone is confident, okay? So to live, life, and live music. And here talking about differences between British and American English, here once again you can choose. You can write favourite with a U, O-U, that's British spelling, or favourite without the U, so just with an O, favourite. So in American English there are fewer letters, you can see, it's simplified. And in British English there are more vowels, okay? So that's difference here, that spelling difference, you will notice with other words such as colour, colour O-U, British spelling, colour just with an O, American spelling. You have lots of different words. You've got flavour, same thing, O-U in British English, just an O in American English, okay? There aren't thousands of differences between American and British English. There are just a few in terms of spelling, a few in terms of pronunciation, and then obviously colloquialisms, slang differs a lot more. But yeah, so as soon as there's something slightly different, I will highlight it, don't worry. So the idea is just to be consistent. So when you're writing an essay, choose between British and American spelling and just make sure that you are sticking to that one spelling and not mixing, organising with a Z and then colour with OU. It just lacks a bit of rigour, that's all. But yeah, I think it's only really a problem in official exams. If you're writing an essay, let's say in the context of an exam, which is Cambridge or Trinity, or an American equivalent like TOEFL, IBT, it's just good to show that you know the difference and that you have chosen to spell words in a certain way or another. Okay, so that's that for spelling. Let's now move on to traditional British recipes. In today's dialogue, they talk about English breakfast. Now, an English breakfast is a cooked breakfast, and I think it's a great opportunity to practice the spelling of the ED, so the past participle, simply because as everything is cooked in a different way, you have words such as roasted, boiled, fried. So I'm going to seize this opportunity to present you with more traditional recipes and at the same time highlight those ED endings. So I've just realised that I said the spelling of the ED endings. I actually meant the pronunciation of the ED endings. Sorry about that. So let's get started with the traditional cooked English breakfast. So what is contained? Let's have a look here at the different ingredients and the way that they are cooked, and let's pronounce together, emphasizing the ED ending. So you know that the ED ending can be pronounced t, d or id. So here all I've done is put the pronunciation between slash marks of that ED ending. So the English breakfast contains fried eggs, grilled bacon, boiled mushrooms, roasted tomatoes, toasted bread. We would normally say toast, but we're doing a pronunciation exercise here, so let's say toasted bread, melted butter, baked beans, a cooked breakfast. Now let's move on to another traditional British dish, fish and chips. Now fish and chips contains two main elements, battered fish and fried potatoes. Now fried potatoes, there's a big confusion here between British and American English, so let's clarify that. So fried potatoes, warm fried potatoes, they are called chips in British English and fries in American English. And in England, we also eat packets of crisps, and those are called chips in the United States. Hence this confusion, okay? So practice the pronunciation of those words and also just read them out loud and figure out, okay, what do I choose? Do I want to say fries and chips, or do I want to say chips and crisps? It's up to you once again, but I just wanted to highlight the difference so that you know when you go to the States what chips are and what crisps are in the UK, for example. All right, let's move on now to our third traditional recipe, roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. So roasted beef is served with roasted vegetables and a baked Yorkshire pudding, and sometimes gravy. Our fourth dish is bangers and mash. So that is mashed potatoes, grilled sausages, fried onions and gravy. Our fifth tradition is called scones, also pronounced scones. So scones are baked and they are generally served warm, and you can put clotted cream on it and jam, or you can eat it with melted butter or melted butter and jam. You can choose, and the recipes differ throughout England, Wales, Scotland. The ones that I'm used to are quite fluffy, and yeah, I highly recommend trying it because it's something that you have with tea. So you have your cup of tea, you have people over, and you all drink tea and have some scones, and yeah, it's really nice. It really is a tradition. The sixth recipe is steak and kidney pie. We eat lots of different types of pies in the UK, but steak and kidney pie is maybe one of the most famous ones. It is a baked pie served with mashed potato and gravy very often, as well as cooked peas. So our seventh and final recipe today is the Cornish pasty. So it's a tradition from Cornwall in England. and it's basically a thick pastry case which is filled with chunky vegetables and meat, and you can eat it cold or warm, on the go, and it's very hearty, they say, and it's very substantial. It keeps you full. It's a good thing to have. I often eat it when I'm on the train, for example, when I don't have time necessarily to eat at home. I grab a Cornish pasty on the way, and yeah, it's something that you generally eat on the go. I think the tradition goes back to miners who used to eat that at work, so there you go. So that's also quite common. You find it in most train stations in England and on the high street. So I hope that you enjoyed those recipes from the UK. I know that our food doesn't have the best reputation, but we do have some good traditional, wholesome, hearty and substantial recipes out there. So yeah, give it a go when you visit the UK. In the meantime, study hard, do your exercises, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson. Bye for now.